It feels like Bitcoin is more suited initially for developing countries like El Salvador. So because you and I, we've had this conversation, and I've had this conversation with numerous like Bitcoin people, is like, in a first world country, we all have access to banking. That's it. That's not a problem. Right.
And we don't have hyperinflation generally.
Yeah, we don't have hyperinflation generally. So like, for instance, we had the Minister of Education on this program like a week or two ago, Mauricio, and he was talking about one of the things that Bitcoin is really helping with is a lot of the people out in the rural areas didn't have access to banking. They're an all cash economy. It doesn't make sense for them to take a 4-hour bus ride to San Salvador to get a bank account. They're just not going to do that.
Right.
But they all had smartphones. And this is the thing, one of the things that kind of 5 years ago, when I first started hearing about Bitcoin, this was the thing that really made me wake up to it when they said, I interviewed someone and they said, there's 2.5 billion people on planet Earth that don't have access to traditional banking, but they all have a smartphone. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's how this is going to be huge. And specifically going back to El Salvador, so it helps those people. And the government is doing a whole education thing. They're putting it in the schools. And there's a company, Me Premier Bitcoin, that is educating people on it. But also there's the remittance thing, which is a very key element to discuss specifically with El Salvador, but it pertains to the whole world. As we go back to the Civil War, in the Civil War here, all these El Salvadorians left. Roughly, they estimate roughly 3 million Salvadorians live outside of the country, primarily in the US and Canada, some in Europe. And, you saw that when Bukele was on the election day, the embassies around the world in the US, lines around the block of Salvadorians going to vote. They've all been sending money back here for years, having to pay Western Union, huge fees and all that stuff. And so now it's like, oh, we're sending Bitcoin money very cheap, very, there's lightning and all that. And that is like, to me, is really, that's the exciting stuff. And learning about the circular economy that they started in El Zonte. They're doing it now out in Berlin, which is nicknamed Bitcoin City in the eastern.
Also a great dance club that just closed in Chicago, Graham. You've been there.
Yeah.
For the people who don't know, it's great. It was a wild place, man. It was remember that dance club Berlin? It was like cross-dresser, trans, gay, but like that kind of place. But before anybody was even like that was an accepted sort of open society where people are like, yeah, why would that bother anybody? It was like anyway, I'm sorry, I blew that up.
We went to all those crazy nightclubs in Chicago.
Because it just closed. It literally just closed, yeah. So when you said Berlin, I'm like, are we talking about the nightclub?
The Chicago.
They take Bitcoin now there? Boy, they are on the cutting edge there at Berlin. The trans guy takes Bitcoin now.
So that's the thing that's really interesting. And I know you've only been here like not even a full day yet. And I was trying to pay for dinner last night, but I didn't have enough in my Lightning wallet and I had to move it. But like, you're going to start to see more of the circular economy. So as someone that's really working in tech and finance, and you, like you say, you get to see access, you have access to stuff that regular people don't see. So you can see this trend happening before it becomes mainstream adopted. And like you say, we don't know where this is going because we can't even foresee it, you know? Like we're in the black and white TV era. No one can foresee like watching a movie on this,